now like to call up former Representative J.R. Hoell. And on deck is going to be former Representative Jim McConnell. Welcome to House Education, Representative Hoell.
Thank you, Chairman. For those who do not know, I was a former member of this committee several years ago. So it's good to be back in the room testifying, and for those who care a lot about education. So, J.R. Hoell, Town of Dunbarton. I was a member of the State House for 8 years, and I'm here today in the capacity of the Corporate Secretary for New Hampshire Firearms Coalition. We represent a large number of firearms owners, dealers, and manufacturers in the state. We are all strongly opposed to both HB 101 and the follow-on bill, HB 564. I'm going to talk a little bit about, we're rapidly approaching yet another historical mass murder anniversary, right? This week, unfortunately, there was a mass murder 1 year ago. Florida statutes prohibited exactly what we're talking about today. Okay? They, in fact, prohibited carry of firearms, and the reports that came out afterward made it clear that had there been more citizens, had the law enforcement actually engaged, more lives would have been saved. We all have a common goal in this room. Everybody that is here, okay, wants to protect the children. Okay? That's the goal of everybody in this room today. No one, and I repeat, no one wants to see them harmed, with one small exception. There are people, okay, there are individuals out there who are bent on harming others. Several years ago, and I'm going to read this small section, but I will turn in written testimony, but I only made one copy because it's rather long. Several years ago, a New York police officer published a paper on active killers. This was in a peer-reviewed journal. The Law Enforcement Executive Forum, which is where he published this information, features articles relevant to today's law enforcement environment and provides the criminal justice community with the best practices and emerging technology. Written for and by criminal justice professionals and scholars, the forum is published 4 times a year. The Law Enforcement Executive Forum is an environment where criminal justice professionals and scholars share their opinions on successes with others. So he wrote an entire article about what happens. And this goes back to 2013. The information was in regard to active killers and what could be done to stop them. Near the end of the article, he wrote the following as he wrapped up and concluded what could be done to address this particular form of violence. It would be wise to consider his words. Okay, and I'm going to read verbatim what he wrote. And this is Lieutenant New York City Police Department Lieutenant David Odell. And I quote, "The active killer does not lie in wait in a battle does not lie in wait to battle responding law enforcement. No law enforcement officers have been killed responding to active killer incidents in the United States. Few have even been injured. As noted, more often than not, when the prospect of confrontation with responding law enforcement becomes unavoidable, the active killer commits suicide. And when citizens, even unarmed citizens, engage, the active killer crumbles." Ron Bursch, 2009, sums up the matter neatly. In reality, not theory, and in round numbers, rapid mass murder has been aborted primarily by single courageous actors. 50% have been by unarmed citizens, 25% have been by armed citizens, and the remainder by law enforcement. So I'm going to stop quoting. That means 75% of these incidents are being stopped by the citizens who this particular bill would seek to prohibit the ability to engage. And I will continue. As the reminder, Borsch's statistical analysis recommends a tactic, aggressive action. For law enforcement, respond and engage the killer without delay, which is exactly the opposite of what happened in Parkland. The affected orthodoxy of cumbersome team formation fails to answer the rapid temporal dynamics of an active killer event and fails to grasp the nature of the threat involved. For citizens, when necessary, obligation calls, right? He says attack, get engaged. And this is a 19-year-old veteran of the New York City Police Force who wrote this. Bottom line is, by disarming law-abiding, only criminals, those who are ready to commit intent on committing harm, okay, will be armed, and the lives of our children will be less safe, not more safe than we are today. Passing an emotional feel-good measure that actually puts lives at greater risk is completely unacceptable. We protect our banks, our celebrities, okay, our politicians with firearms, some of the most valuable things, but we don't protect our children, okay? This bill would make the problem worse, not better. One of the former speakers even made the comment, this would not solve the issue. It won't solve the issue. It's a feel-good measure that will put our children at greater risk. I would ask for your sake and for the sakes of all the children that are part of the public school system in New Hampshire that this not be passed, and that you would ITL both this bill and the subsequent.
Thank you very much, former Representative Hoell. Any questions of the presenter? None appearing, thank you very much.
Croc TV.